somebody wants to motion. Whoop, he's recording now, so the meeting is open. Start off with the agenda here. First item on the agenda was CPC membership. So with that, same as always, our yearly dues, $17.50 or whatnot. I think $17.50 is the total. To be under their tutelage, use their services, have them in our pocket when we do have questions arise. We've used them quite a bit, especially the last 2 years. So personally, I think it's kind of a no-brainer to approve that money from our administrative budget, and we can get a check drawn up and have Tom, when he is back around, go up and give it his signature, and they can send it off from the accountant's office. You guys got anything with that? Anything to say about it, or?
Well, their services have been much appreciated. My year on the committee. I know you've reached out to them a few times, and their advice is always welcome.
Yep. Have you guys had the opportunity to contact anybody over there and talk to them yourselves? And Stuart Saganor is over there, Chase Mack. They're really some knowledgeable guys. If there's anything that pops up, feel free to shoot them a line, let them know you're from Rockland, and pick their brains a little bit. They wealth of information, and quite frankly, we pay for it. Might as well use it.
It's true. Yeah, we should probably try to use them a little more.
Yeah. They have a lot of resources at their disposal. Plus, there's a pretty good line directly to the state there. They're constantly. If you guys see the emails that come out, they're always at the State House. Speaking their piece, trying to push for some more support from the legislature for CPA. There's consistent programs that they're running, trying to get more funding, get it budgeted for yearly funding, so it's not just stuff coming from the Register of Deeds and so forth, getting them to earmark some extra money to throw into the trust fund that is the nest egg that really takes care of it. But it's a pretty good organization. Nice guys too. They all do good by us. So if that is the case, let me just write this down here. And I want to pull up that last email as well, just to make sure we have the figure correct without going too over. All right, let's see what we got here. It's taking a second to search all the emails. And get back through it to when it was sent to me for payment. It's been difficult without having regular in-person meetings and so forth. Let's see, CP3 blanket email contributions. Must be this. $2021 of $17.50. All right, so that must be the total of it was last year, I think, if I'm correct, and it's what I have in the old emails. Was $17.50 being the total. So,
if that's the correct amount, I make a motion.
Right. What we could probably do just for that is to word the motion when you do it, and to pay all due membership fees, just in case if it's off by $50 and it was $1,700, because I'm having trouble finding the exact email.
Make-
Make a motion not to exceed 1,900.
Yeah,
Thousand. Isn't it?
yep, that would be fine. That gives us everything under it. I know it's not over 1750. I want to say it's 1750, but like I said, I'm having trouble pulling up my emails right now for some reason. It's very, very slow. As soon as it comes up, I'll be able to hit you with it and we can actually, correct. All right. And I think I got that actually. I think Biz sent me the other link with that for payment. Let me see what she has in there. All right. So yeah, if somebody wants to move ahead with that motion.
Second, so we're looking to do. I'll second it.
I need a motion actually spoken. Put on the floor.
Which one did you want? Did you want the not to exceed 19?
Either that or we can just pay all due fees. Either one will be suitable. Their fee it's yearly. It never exceeds this. It's the same amount consistently. So whatever anybody wants to say. Picking up a lot of background noise. That's not Pete talking.
That's the TV. I'll move over.
Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. But we do need a motion to move forward.
Well, I'd make the motion not to exceed 19 for services from that Stuart Saginow's company or whatever it is exactly. I don't know exactly what they're called.
The CPC.
Yeah. Well, okay. Yeah. Duh. That's my motion.
Give me a second.
Second.
All right, Steve. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. All right. So move on to the next little tidbit. This won't be a very long thing here, I'm sure of. All right. So next article or next item on the agenda was the 2019 projects. We do not have a representative from the historic with us tonight. I know Tom had messaged me he was going to be up in Vermont or out of state, so he wasn't 100% sure he would be available. And as with Charlie is not available either, so both of those are the spearheading groups for those two projects. So we'll have to pass that item over and revisit it at the next meeting. Without their input, I'm in the dark,
Yeah.
as with everybody, I'd assume.
Motion to table the next meeting.
Seconded.
Second.
All in favor of tabling it till the next meeting?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. So we move on to 2020 projects, item number 3 on the agenda. I don't know if everybody got that email. I can forward it out to you guys that they accepted the bid for the sprinklers up at McKinley.
Great.
So that'll be moving forward soon. I guess there was only one actual bid, so they unsealed it after the deadline ran out. It was slightly more than we had appropriated for. But from what Doug had mentioned, they were going to pull that out of some of the town's capital to cover the overage. So not to push us back into town meeting and, extend it out further and so forth. It was only a couple $1,000s. I think we had appropriated $293.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it came in at like 290 something, 295 or something like that. So they were going to pay the excess out of available funds from the town. So that's pretty good. I'm appreciating that. And without a couple people here, we have a couple of our projects that we won't really probably get much updating on. What about any news coming out of Hartsuf as far as the master plan? Has anybody got any information with that? The current use?
No. I tried to hook up with Jean the other day, but she was on a phone call, so it didn't happen.
All right, and everything's moved along with the actual land. Hey, there's Charlie.
Oh, he's coming in.
Excellent. The
The
actual
land-
land purchase.
That's been, as of the 19th of August, that went through. So we do own that. That's all set. So it's our property.
Excellent.
Staying on that subject,
Yep.
is there any way we can get these signs made up? Another project by CPA funds, so people know that land was bought.
I put them over the no trespassing signs that kind of dots the property in between the Hartsuf and that property.
Yeah, I'm sure that that's something that we could even, without waiting for something of a town meeting type of thing, we could probably throw on some administrative funds into. I know a lot of the projects that other towns do when they put up an advertisement for CPA, making a connotation that the project was paid by CPA funds. A lot of them use administrative funds for that. Would have to get some kind of a sign drawn up, stating the obvious, and get a couple quotes, bring it to a vote. But something along those lines would probably want to include with that, get some input from Doug as well. On what his feelings would be about advertising this or whatnot. And if there's anything that would have to go through legally before posting, obviously we've got to get, approval, sign size and so forth. Everything's got to meet code. We can't just go nailing them to trees. So we'll have to, I'll put a note down to contact Doug, see what he says about it. I think it's not a bad idea. I bet it hasn't really happened much with the current, situation socially. You're not seeing as many people as we normally would making the rounds or out and about. But I'm sure that it's not too far off that we'll be getting hit up with a lot of questions about, some of the things that are actually happening, what the progress is with certain projects and so forth. We were pretty successful at those of us that were at town meeting were able to see there wasn't any resistance. Everything was put through with a unanimous vote. Nobody even spoke out against any of the projects. Nobody asked any questions. That was the first time that we've gone to a town meeting in probably the past 5 years that I haven't had to get up and answer something. And it was fantastic, in and out, handled really professionally. They did a hell of a job with it. Having a preemptive speech from Doug too, saying that everything had already been approved through several boards and several recommendations, I think had a lot of bearing on that as well. He did us a solid there by putting that out and not having to field all the questions about where it's coming from and who thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, so very happy at the town meeting, the support from the town of Rockland. So thank you to anyone watching this after the fact.
Yep.
It's been a lot of people using Hartsel Park during this coronavirus.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the place is packed every day almost down there.
It's a fantastic thing. And you know what? It's one positive you can pull out of it is people are searching out other things to do besides, shopping malls, stores, and bars. They go in other places. And
just so everybody knows, not just disc golf's been absolutely crazy down there. People I've never seen before, but on top of that, this year's high school cross country are going to start running out there. Their
Oh,
schedule starts next week.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. So they'll do partially on the road, I assume?
No, the only partially on the road is going to be half the street they're going to start, but then the whole circuit is going to be in the woods.
Excellent.
Over the bridge, and they're even thinking about going out into the new pits area where I've been trimming trails back for hiking.
Excellent. That's fantastic. That's a great advertisement for the property right there and of itself. You're getting a bunch of people from other towns that are going to be competing,
Yep.
you know, and seeing this property more than likely for the first time. It's not exactly, you know, out in the middle of, you know, Times Square screaming that there's a park right here in the woods off of Hingham Street, you know, but the getting people out there.
People
You know,
that had lived in this town their whole life, they didn't know it was there until that playground was put in.
Yeah, very true. Very true. So any updates on some of the new, I see Charlie's here now. He has no audio. By the
How about now?
You got you.
You got you.
Okay, good.
We got you. We're just going over some people that, some of the projects for 2020 from the agenda, where we're at, if anybody's heard or gotten information, and from the different groups that are spearheading these projects. Obviously, the McKinley bid and so forth went through nicely. Getting that underway would be nice kickoff, you know.
So I can touch on the crossing lights. I talked to Dave Taylor, and he's gotten some prices back, and I'm going to meet with him this week or next to try to nail that down.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, you see, like we were just talking about with the Hartsuff property, more people on that rail trail, you know, in the last 6 months than we've probably had in the last 5 years.
Most definitely.
You know, it's really, I think it's a fantastic thing for the town. It's been giving people an outlet, giving them an option, you know, get out of the house and get something done.
Yep.
Those lights will be a very welcome addition. I come through that intersection at the end of Liberty and Market every day, a couple times a day. And I can't tell you how many times coming around the corner, somebody's jamming on their brakes because somebody's walking across the street, or,
Yep.
you know, taking bikes, a lot of bicycle traffic, scooters, things like that. You know, so it'll be a pretty welcome addition to get that set up, I'm sure.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
Excellent. Excellent. We got Joe on Hartsuff, and that was the land purchases already. If you didn't hear that, Charlie, the land purchases is finalized. Everything's already gone through, and we have received ownership of that parcel at Hartsuff.
Excellent. I did hear that. That is
Yeah.
great news.
Fantastic. And the, let me see, we also have, so the cross lights, the big one that was brought up, and it's probably not a bad idea to throw it out now as far as the 2020. Doug had suggested we discuss it under that item from the agenda, was the use of administrative funds for the appraisal of the Reed's Pond, Studley's Pond, or Spring Gate Cemetery, or that land purchase that we're pursuing. Originally, we had basically approved administrative costs up to $10,000 or whatnot to fund a couple different surveys and so forth. Those two actually, like Joe had said, came out equal in, was it what'd you say, 65.50?
What was that?
The total price of the funds that they actually used?
65 and change.
65.50 or 65.48 or something like that.
Yeah.
But they will need additional funding to pay for the appraisers to come out now that they have actually set, they had to revisit it and revise and reset the acreage that they were purchasing. They redrew one of the maps from what I gathered in the email the other day. But the appraisal will have to come out. It's going to be a little more interesting, a little more involved than the appraisals of some of the other properties, just because of where it is, the location, the shape of it, and the fact that it's, you know, it's basically, it's almost protected land. It's inside of a watershed area. It's part of the headwater for the north-south river watershed goes right through there. French's Stream dumps out of there and into there from both sides. So there's a little more to run through, I guess. So he was actually asking that we could approve up to $5,000 for the next appraisal. He says they're obviously going with the cheapest price and will work to get the cheapest price. In the past, the appraisals have been $3,200, $3,500, right in that area. Little less for the Hartsuff, was 28 or something. This one might be a little more involved, might be a little more money. He doesn't think that we'll exceed 5,000, but he thinks that that's a pretty good number, just so we don't have to, you know, get recalled and revisit this again to approve additional funding for it. And that would be for the appraisal of the new purchase. A little more land, which obviously, I mean, I'm a pretty big proponent for, because they're not making any new land. So when you have the opportunity, you buy it.
I'd like to make a motion to appropriate $5,000 for Studley Pond and the cemetery appraisal.
I'll second it.
Second from Pete. All in favor of appropriating $5,000 for the appraisal of the Studley and Reed's Ponds property, the cemetery property? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey,
I'm in favor.
All right, it is unanimous. I will let Doug know in the morning. That's a good one to knock off. And we've talked about that privately and so forth. That property itself has some real good potential. Everybody sees it. You know, the lot itself might be a little wonky, but that entrance, the parking area that's currently there, the old fountain, the old wading pond that's still there. It's just, you know, the parks and highway and some of the guys, I know you guys all get involved to clear that out as much as possible. But I think really getting some good money behind it could turn that into a real nice focal point coming into town on that road and seeing a nice area. Would be good. Well, thank you for that vote. Let me see here. Is there anything else new on the 2020 projects that anybody would else like to discuss before we move on?
The feelers out there, see if anyone's heard, but the library restoration,
All right.
one of the big ones.
I haven't heard anything back from them yet. I'm assuming it's kind of on the same thing because they did have to go to bid, you know, so forth. Where McKinley just closed, I'm assuming there's probably a little more interest in doing windows and restoration to the library than there was doing a third floor sprinkler system. So hopefully, hey, there's Tom.
Hey, Tom.
Hey, Tom. No worries, no worries. Good to see you. So with that, we'll shoot something out to him, see if we've heard anything. There's actually a couple projects through the town that I'd like to get some feedback on. I'll shoot out an email to Doug and Elizabeth and see and Jennifer to see what the status is on a couple of them. I didn't know who was gonna have what information, and I'd rather not walk around with egg on my face by asking somebody for info when the guy that's on my committee has it.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? So that being said, what are your thoughts? We'll go to number 4 here, and we can actually reopen number 2 with a couple different people here after. We can revisit that at the end. We can make a motion to reopen the discussion on that after we get through the agenda as it's set. So we'll go to number 4, the application process. John, I think this is kind of up your alley. Going through it last year when we got a lot of pre-applications, there was really only one that kind of stood out of what, 14 applications or whatnot. There was only about one that really stood out as both being incomplete and, vague. But talking with a few people as well, almost seems like we might be able to streamline this a little bit and do a one-step process. Almost eliminate the pre-application. Most of the people that put in their applications put them both in at the same time. So they're already doing that. They're already getting the information. They're doing their, due diligence to get as much information as there is out there, including price quotes, estimates, things like that. And I'm just on the side of streamlining the whole process a little bit and just making it easier on everybody involved, not only the applicants, but also on us having to schedule 2 meetings in a very short amount of time to approve and then reapprove a final. Might make it a little bit easier on people, everybody involved really.
When is that
possible.
application due?
Excuse me?
When is that application due?
They are all due the last day of October.
October. Thank you.
Yeah. So with that, if we were to streamline that going forward, it would obviously, it takes a vote, of the board to change it to a one application process, then would have to go through, I'm thinking more along the lines is this would be the start of the new year. Would have to take a vote to approve changing the process, then would have to re-vote on accepting a new draft of a new singular application, and then institute a date of change, which could be, October 31st, that night at closing of town halls when applications shut down this year. Anything received after that's consideration for next year. It might be something that we would want to, come to the table with a couple of these in next month's early meeting and do for the 1st of November type of a rollout for the 2021 year. What do you guys think about something like that? What are your opinions?
Just my first thought on that. I mean, obviously it makes more sense to have a simpler, streamlined process. But for just, it's the first I'm hearing of it. So just my initial thoughts of one, we built it based off of what the CPC typical structure is. So I'd want to make sure, and you may have already done this, Derek, but talk to Stuart and the folks and see if this makes sense from what they experience. I think the whole idea of a pre-app is that people are supposed to get this quickly out there ahead of time so that we have an idea of what kind of projects that are coming down. Now we're getting into the issue that everyone is waiting to the last day in sending us things, okay? Now, streamlining that isn't gonna stop that. That's just gonna make it worse. They're gonna wait till the last minute. We had project last year that came in late that we had to say no to. So I think it sounds good, but I think really maybe it's more of a, hey, we need to get more awareness out there in January, February, March, April, May for people to submit things. And then October is really our time to review things. It's not people scrambling and we're getting, written things on a piece of paper, the day before with possible things, or 10 to 40 pages stapled to an application that we have to look at, and it doesn't really have anything to do with what the application is, but people just want to put more in there. I don't know, that's just my kind of first take on it. you know, I obviously want to make it as easy as possible for people, but these projects do need um, some background, some input into them. And I think the whole idea was the pre-app is come January 1, you find something in the town, you have an idea that should be, you know, looked at, you want it, you know, on the radar of people, and then go from there so that we can then help people develop their full app, you know, and work with them if it's something like a, you know, you know, the different stuff that we were just like approving. You know, if some of that work needs to be done up front, we can help with that. We can't help with that on Halloween, you know. And so I don't know. That's just my first take, and just based off of our first year where we only had a couple, and then last year where we got, what was it, like 40 on the last day. So it was just not. It's got to be something better to do there. So I think there's definitely some room for improvement, something to do. I don't know if just eliminating, you know, and making it one is going to help the problem we have right now. So that's just my thoughts.
No, absolutely. That's what this is. It's a forum. Everybody needs to put input. That's why one person can't make a decision. You know,
I agree with you 110%, Steve, because that was my same thought when I was listening to it. I think exactly what you said is 100% right, my opinion.
Yeah, you see that, and we saw it last year. You know, I think I got a phone call about a mailbox being slightly jammed, like, you know, the day before the close of applications, and then even had to go up a couple days after the close to grab ones that had been dropped off that were stamped on the right day. You know, and that's tough. That's a tough thing, because there's an awful lot of work that has to get done. Like you guys saw, we doubled up meetings last year. In December, we threw 2 meetings in just to get stuff cleared up, you know, and having to scramble from October to, you know, the first week in February to have an article submitted, you know, or getting things ready for approval to go to town warrant and be posted, you know, it's pretty hectic. So
Derek.
any ideas that we can get, you know, that might, I mean, do we roll back the deadline date, you know, and roll back the deadline date till the, you know, right after town meeting or something, where people get pumped up about a lot of things right around town meeting time. And then you see it kind of fade off until school opens up again and everything gets rolling again. And then they get fired up again and they see things that they'd like done, or you know, everybody kind of takes the summer off. It becomes a mad rush towards the beginning of the new school year.
Derek, how many applications do we have left over from last year? Are they
From
still?
last year that we pushed forward, we said would revisit. There were 3 formal applications that we just passed on. And then Tom had one for the cemetery on Liberty Street for a restoration project there that he pulled back himself, that, you know, we were going to revisit this year as well. So there's probably 4 that we will revisit, and actually more or less the information we gave out was to, you know, put in a new application for next year to several of those. Tom's we just held over. One of them from Dave we held over, which was the connector trail from the rail trail to the town forest. That was one that was held over. We had another housing project that was incomplete, and we passed on completely. So there were, I believe, 3 that, right off the top of my head, there were 3 that we would be revisiting this year. And I have not obviously been to town hall to check on the mailbox to see what's come in already, if anything. I received 1 inquiry, actually, oddly enough, from somebody that I knew, and that I hadn't spoken to in quite a long time, about a housing project and the possibility of some CPA funds for some public housing in Rockland. I sent out all the information back to them with the link for the applications and so forth. Kind of got a little in deep this year with the emergency funding of the housing money that we were able to unanimously get passed to help out with the pandemic situation and rent assistance in the town of Rockland, which didn't decimate, but it all but emptied our community housing and initiatives budget, you know, of what we had set aside for them. So it kind of might have put a damper on a couple of those projects for this year as well, while we tried to restock that one account. But aside from that, we're looking pretty good. I haven't heard anything. Usually Sue would shoot me an email or send me a phone call and tell me that there's a bunch of stuff in the box up there. I haven't gotten that. I'll reach out to her. I'll make a note. I'm going to reach out to her and check to see if there's anything pending up there. I know the only letter that we had received was just our membership from the CPC.
How about having Doug announce it during the next selectmen's meeting to get applications in?
That would be a fantastic idea. I think that putting that on a header would be a great idea. You know, you could throw that out there and you know, hopefully we get something. It would not shock me in the least to see no new applications come in, you know, from, you know, outside of our group, if there's something that's pending or somebody from our committee wants. Just given the state of everything right now. Not a lot of people going in and working on projects together. Not a lot of people, you know, or up until a few weeks ago or a month or two ago, you know, the whole spring kind of more or less got shut down. A lot of these organizations that would normally apply to us for funding or whatnot, quite frankly, have not been meeting much like us, you know, don't have the means to meet or don't have the ability to get things rolling and get things moving for their organizations. So it wouldn't surprise me that not a lot happens this year. Be prepared for both, I guess, you know, and
Not much money in the kitty for really a lot of projects. We're gonna have to be pretty selective this year, I would imagine.
Yeah, because we went pretty deep last year.
Yeah.
This year, you remember we had discussed a while back, I think, you know, really unintentionally taking it as a 1 year, build the kitty, 1 year, spend the kitty, next year, build the kitty, next year, spend the kitty. It's an inadvertent, you know, result of having a lot of really good projects be brought to our committee. You know, having stuff that everybody would love to see done, having things that were super time sensitive, land purchases being one of them, the rental assistance being another one. You know, what was the figure, Steve? I know you got it on your paper. It was big.
Oh, I don't have it right in front of me right this second, but I have the old warrant in front of me. We spent some money this year. Well, the town spent some money, which is good.
It was a little north of 900.
Yeah, and I think the numbers I had were prior to
The housing
COVID
assistance.
money.
Yeah.
COVID assistance.
Yep. The rental.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, I know it was a big year. It's pretty fantastic. These projects will go a long way in town. All right. So if there is no more updating on the 2020s and the application process, you know, what I'd love to see is give it some thought for a little bit. You know, about if there's any way that we can streamline this and just make it easier on every front. If it's reeling in a date, like John was saying, you know, you can lead a horse to water, you can't make it drink. You know, it's kind of like a revisiting high school. Everybody turns in their project on the last possible day at about 5 minutes before the buzzer. You know, there might be a way we can kind of coax that along. You know, get some more advertisements out there, get some more information through either via the selectmen or some of the civic groups around town. It might take a mailer, you know, it might take a mass email out to some of the other organizations.
Derek,
What do you got, Joe?
Can we move on? You're going to run out of time here if we don't go back to the motions
Yep.
to open discussion.
All right,
on.
so the next one is the annual public forum. So obviously, this is probably not going to be a reality. I have to compose an email to Stuart. It's a legal obligation that we do it. I don't know what kind of stipulations they have for it right now, if it's even possible. I know I've heard about 15 different things as far as 25 people or less, 50 people at an outdoor venue. I mean, we've seen what's happened. The first year we had 20 people, and the next year there were 4 of us. So as far as that sits, I wouldn't want to undersell it. I wouldn't want to oversell it. I do want to reach out and get some counsel on it, so we're not breaching anything. We're not, not meeting our obligations legally to have an open forum for the public. But with the COVID situation and so forth, I just don't see it as being a feasible thing to start planning. We always did it in October.
We have to do it before applications close.
Technically, no. You just have to do it once in a calendar year.
So I wonder, because we have a special town meeting coming up in November. Could we leverage either a half an hour before or a half an hour after close? Probably close is probably not the best idea because but you have a captive audience. I mean, it is government business. We do have, my understanding is that we're not really beholden to the same gathering requirements. And I don't know if, CPA public forum is, looped in with that, but it may be that, while they're building a quorum, does it make sense to have an informal talk there?
It could. That could be another thing I'll put in this email to Doug. I got a few little pops. I might even just make a phone call because it might be a little more.
Yeah.
little
The
more-
other idea is we have Zoom. I don't know how many connections. I know there's been a few zoning committee meetings that have had quite a few attendees that the town's Zoom meeting can handle. Truth be told, we had two outside visitors at our last public forum, and that was in person. Maybe we get a couple more. I think we'd be able to handle it. And as people come in, we recognize them, take their name down, give them their opportunity to speak, and as a board, we can answer them.
Yeah.
Well, let me
that'd be
see
the best option.
Yeah, see what Doug's got to offer and go forward like that. Maybe he would be able to include it in the special town meeting, or they might say, hey, if you have a nice day or whatever, you want to go outside, do it outside. I mean, I'd be open to just about anything just to make sure that we're adhering to the rule of law. I don't
Do
want
it down to Hartsa if we could show it off.
Exactly.
So
All
there's
right,
no
so-
flexibility in that requirement, even with the COVID?
That's what I'm not clear on, Tom. I don't know if they what their stance is on that. I'm going to reach out to Doug, find out from him, but it also might be something that would warrant a phone call into Stuart to see what concessions they've made to this. Like I said, my biggest thing with this whole committee and everything is just to be as transparent as possible and not break any of the rules. But yeah, I think that's probably the best way. Go through Doug and we'll talk to Stuart as well.
You want a motion to table?
We really don't have to, I don't think, because we're not voting on anything. We weren't setting a date tonight or anything of that matter, so shouldn't require any kind of a vote. It's just a discussion item on the list. The last one is public discussion. That's going to be something that we'll be doing now for the foreseeable future. If you guys saw the revised posting made through Town Hall and on the website, it lists this Zoom address and all of the information for anybody from the general public to actually attend a live meeting, so they can actually voice their opinions outside of watching this replay on YouTube or other such media, if they pull it up on their phone, they come in and watch a recorded Zoom call or whatever it may be. It gives them the option to actually, attend it virtually in person. So there is nobody else here for the public discussion. So if we want to revisit item
Just a
number,
note on that, Derek. Does that satisfy our legal obligation if we're opening this meeting?
it does for this. I don't know if it would for an open public forum, because this is an agended meeting. And I actually had to include that as discussion, open public discussion at the end, just as a question and answers.
Derek, it's Chris from WRPS. As long as you open this meeting to the public, you're covered under open meeting law.
We have a legal obligation through CPA to hold a once annual public forum. That's generally a separate event outside of a meeting. And that's what we're kind of in the dark about. I'm going to have to reach out and get some tutelage on that one. But yeah, satisfying having that open public forum at the end of it, like he just spoke of, is, it takes care of us, because really the last meeting we did like this and we didn't have that out there, and they made it public, but there was no give and take, no public comments available, at the time. Was kind of, I believe, a gray area of they came out with a better way to do it. So putting that on there and actually allowing for public, access to this is pretty fantastic. I'd love to see if we could do the forum like that. I could, even with this, I can share a screen of a nice little PowerPoint or something like that with some good photos, some good pictures of some of the ongoing projects, the future projects or whatnot to share in a public forum. It's easier to share a screen here than it is to set up a projector and do it at a meeting. But if that satisfies all of our items, let's head back to number 2. If I can get a motion to revisit number 2.
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
All in favor? Going back to item number 2. Aye.
Aye.
Right. And lastly. All right, so number 2 was 2019 projects. Specifically, Charlie and Tom, we were just looking if there's any updates for the King Philip or the Tramp House.
The Tramp House has not started yet. Red Tail Renovations is the vendor we're going to be using. But I have to talk to Peter Dow to get an update on why she has not been able to start yet.
All right.
And in regards to King Philip, I spoke with Doug, and that is going to have to go back out to bid. He thinks that the bid process this time around will be a lot easier, so that we can hopefully get the vendor to do it.
All right, so back out to bid.
Correct.
Any kind of a timeline of when that's going to open up, or?
I spoke to Doug back in July about it. I will send him another email saying that we discussed it tonight, and I'll send him an email in the morning and kind of see if we can get that ball rolling again, because I'm kind of miffed that it hasn't moved forward yet. And, because that is a pretty important project, and I want to keep it moving. So I'll check with Doug in the morning on it.
Excellent. Yeah, that would be, I'm thinking it'd probably be the best best case scenarios to get that thing where it needs to be travel wise before the weather deteriorates.
Right.
So,
Yes, agreed. Yep.
fantastic. So with those updates, I believe that draws our meeting right down to the end of it. We will put out, I'll make a couple of these emails. I'll make the information I received back known. I'll forward it out to you guys individually. if there's anybody that has any other questions, I mean, like I said, don't wait for me, you know? You got a question or something, shoot a message to Stuart, shoot one to Doug. You know, the more information we have, the more irons in the fire we have, you know, the better prepared we can be for the next round to come on and seeing these projects that we've approved this year right through to fruition. You know, I think that we're in a good spot, and, you know, congratulations to, same thing with Tom and Charlie about the, what we had discussed earlier, town meeting. You know, there was zero opposition, zero questions, 100% unanimous approval for all the projects that we had on the slate, which was very good. You know, some of them are in the process now of getting worked up. The bid was approved from McKinley, so we're in good shape.
Derek, when you send that email to Doug,
Yep.
can you address to him, try to have that appraisal done by the end of October, if possible?
Yeah, because we can include it in this year's funding for the purchase.
And that's the only thing that we're waiting on that application?
Yep.
Because I already put in the application, correct?
Yeah, you're just waiting on an actual
Number.
price. We didn't have a number.
Okay.
So if that's it, we can vote to adjourn the meeting until the next one.
Motion.
There
Adjourned.
you go.
One safe.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
See you soon, guys.